ahead of Canada's international matches against Romania and Wales in early September. Delighted now to be joined by their head coach, Jesse Marsch. Jesse, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, KJ, thanks for having me, buddy.
Always appreciate the time to chat. So roughly 7 weeks or so since the Gold Cup, what's in the forefront of your mind from that tournament and the learnings that you can help your team heading into these two games?
Yeah, we were really disappointed, right, to lose to Guatemala in the quarterfinals. We had hopes to try to compete for the trophy, and obviously it was a big letdown for all of us. But I think that we still achieved some of our objectives, and the main one being broadening our squad and giving some of our younger players opportunity to grow within the national team setup. And so, I'm really happy with guys like Nico Segur and Nathan Saliba. Luke de Fougerolles had a great tournament. Tani Aloeshi continues to establish himself. So, and you could list others, but certainly we continue to integrate important players that will be vital for us next summer. And then, just sorry, KJ, but looking ahead, and even putting the squad together again, it's exciting to think about all the different possibilities we have and what the squad can look like again for this September friendly matchups.
You talk about the squad. International management is never easy. You're relying on club football and injuries. The latest news today on Friday, Alistair Johnston out, according to his manager at Celtic, Brendan Rodgers, for at least 12 weeks. What can you tell us about your conversations with Alistair and your reaction to that?
Yeah, obviously we're really disappointed for him. He's a really important guy for us. We were hopeful that it was going to be the variety that's more like a 6 to 8 week, but it comes in that it's a pretty big injury. Alistair's still young, he's strong, so I think there's potential that he could recover rather quickly from this. But we'll have to wait and see. It may rule him out for all of our friendlies here for the rest of 2025. But at the same time, he's played a lot of matches over the last 24 months. So it's not terrible for him to get a little bit of rest in the lead up then eventually the 6 months to the World Cup next summer. But let's see how he does in the initial weeks here and hope that he can maybe be available for November as well.
Yeah, Jesse, I remember you saying a year ago to me that, defensively with Canada, that was like the last box that you ticked to ensure that you had the players there. And then you came out of the gate and in the first 9 games picked the same players in the back four: Johnston, Moise Bombito, Derek Cornelius, and Alistair Johnston. So you had them for all that first 9 games. Now you've only had them for 2 of the last 11. What does that mean now for you as an international manager when you look at that back line and other opportunities maybe for others heading into 2026?
Yeah, first, I think the competition in goalkeeper will continue to be a topic and one that we'll continue to evaluate. So that's important. And then, look, we know we have very highly talented players in the back line. And to see Nico Segur establish himself, to see Luke de Fougerolles have a great tournament in the Gold Cup was really important. And then the other guy that always just seems to make a difference when he's on the pitch is Richie Larea. And wherever you play him, there's even talk of TFC now playing him more as a 6th or in the center of the midfield. Like wherever he plays, he just understands what games require and how to, in his spot on the field, win his battles and do his job. And I thought as the tournament went on in the Gold Cup that he continued to get stronger and better and more healthy. And I think that in that way, he's going to be really important for next summer as well.
You mentioned the goalies. I'll get to that shortly. But on Richie, who was brilliant in the Gold Cup at left back, has his form and evolution made you think a little bit differently maybe about Alphonso, who you've always started at left back aside from that one game in Copa America where he went back to that in the second half? Like, how does that thought process go now with Alphonso, who may not also join you until 2026?
Yeah, we know that Alphonso always has the ability to play further up the pitch. The way we kind of rotate our tactics when we're with the ball, we want him to get further up the field and be a real attacking player. So we're constantly evaluating, what's the best spot for him. I still think the defensive foundation for us as a group is really important. But if Richie or Sam Adekugbe continue to establish themselves, then there is potential to use Alphonso in different positions higher up the pitch where he can be more an outright attacking player. But again, I think the foundation that we've created in the team is so much about how sound and good we can be defensively.
Sounds good. Okay, let's get to the number 1 spot in goal. Dayne St. Clair was your undisputed number one at the Gold Cup. He started the tournament, he finished the tournament. As you head into this window, Jesse, is he still your number one, or do you even think and contemplate maybe about playing both him and Max in these windows for the two internationals?
I thought Dayne had a good tournament. Obviously, we came up short in the penalty situation. But when you look at the overall personality of the team, there's still the idea that Max's maturity can be very valuable to everything we do. So I think that there's still some discussion, and there will be still competition in and around the goalkeeper position. We know that with both of them that we have great goalkeepers. And I think Dayne has played really well again for both club and country. So it's really going to come down to, for me, like which personality and which qualities in goal will balance out everything that we're building with what we need for the team. And again, I feel like I can't make a wrong decision because I think both guys are high-level goalkeepers.
Let me ask you about leadership and your skipper. Obviously, no Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, without Stefan Eustaquio there for the Gold Cup, took over the armband. What are you thinking about for this window? And maybe, if you don't mind, give us a comment on Jonathan as a leader and what you saw, because obviously you've praised him a lot as a player, and now you get to see what he was like as a captain.
No, I thought Jonathan did a great job at the Gold Cup. And if you would have seen his overall mentality, his ability to communicate with the team, with individual players, the discussions that he and I were able to have, I think he exceeded my expectations as filling in as a captain. And it was just a little bit unfortunate that we weren't able to continue to go so that he could have found a way to help us raise a trophy. But for this run here, I think Steph now comes back into the team. It was a shame that Porto wouldn't release him after the World Club Championship to come back with us. But I think Steph is also a really important player for us, a really important personality, and certainly a great leader. So he'll be wearing the armband. He's been the vice captain since I've been here, and I think he's ready to take over the team in all the right ways and help us in these next few windows.
Obviously, Jonathan was a great leader, and clearly you're always going to miss a player like a caliber of a midfielder like Steph. But did you miss a little bit of that on-field leadership, game management, just in those crucial moments during the Gold Cup that maybe Steph can help?
Yeah, I think so. I think if Steph's in the game, it's a very different situation. And obviously, you know, we made a few mistakes and we weren't able to really manage the game appropriately the way we wanted to. And again, I think a lot of that does eventually come down to what kind of leaders, what kind of experience do you have on the pitch. In the end, I think that overall match and the feeling of what we went through, the understanding that we didn't do well enough in that situation, I think it will feed us well and serve us well moving forward and then preparing for next summer.
A couple more before I let you go. Since I last spoke to you, Thomas Muller is signed for the Vancouver Whitecaps. You have players at the Vancouver Whitecaps, Ralph Priso, Ali Ahmed, Jaden Nelson, and others. How impressed are you with what Thomas has done so far in terms of just integrating himself into the Vancouver community, and what excites you about the impact that he can have on those Canadian internationals in Vancouver?
Yeah, look, I've competed against Thomas Müller here in Europe for years. Watched him carefully, had little conversations with him along the way when we've been able to see each other. I think he's been one of the great leaders in world football over the last decade. I think he will bring a lot of experience, tutelage, ideas, and certainly presence. You can just see it. He steps on the pitch in the first match and he's already organizing everything and making sure that everybody's on the same page, and is unlucky not to come away with a goal in his first 30 seconds. So, you know, even when we had some discussions with Vancouver and they asked me about what I knew about him, I said, look, I think this is the perfect guy because he'll bring experience. He's a winner and he'll make everybody better. So it's exciting. It's exciting for, I think, Vancouver Whitecaps, for Canadian soccer fans. And certainly, I think for all the players there, there's a lot to learn from such a great, experienced, successful player.
Last one for you, Jesse, is the squad will probably be announced in the early part of next week. As you're just starting to assemble it, aside from Alistair, we know about Alphonso. What else can you share with us and Canadians about some health of other players that may or may not be making it? I know Daniel Jebuson's had a bit of a setback. So what can you share with us right now about that?
Yeah, I think Jebo's coming back into training, so we'll see exactly where he's at over the next few days and over the weekend. We also are probably going to wind up using one of the matches to serve Jacob Schaffelberg's suspension from the Gold Cup. So there'll be a little bit of idea around flexibility and maybe bringing an extra player or two so that we make sure that whether it's a guy coming back from injury or Shaft serving his suspension, that we can still make sure that we put together a really good 23-man roster for each match.
As ever, Jesse, always appreciate the time to chat. Safe travels to Romania, and we'll see you there.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for having me.